Hello, everybody. If everything is working out, we should be live on YouTube right now. We are bringing you. Oh, let me start by presenting myself. My name is Michel Pleur. Many of you might have encountered me in the Discord chat the last couple of days. So, for all those of you who I met, hello and welcome. We are here to do a technical AMA. This means that you can ask any question about the technicalities of B and the Swarm network, because we have with you today, we have the some people of the developer team. We have Rinke Hendriksen, for instance, the product owner of B. So Rinke, feel free to, well, all of you guys, feel free to unmute and show your faces and cameras. Hello, there we go. So if everything is working out, like we have audio from Rinke.
Yeah, that's correct. So, hi everybody, my name is Rinke. So, Michel, as you already said, I'm the product owner of the B team. And you find us in a very special moment, as you can imagine, with the launch of the 1.0 just a few days in front of us. But I'm very happy to answer all your questions. So, that's me. I don't know, do you want to introduce yourself, Danny?
Sure. So my name is Daniel, and I'm one of the architects of Swarm, and I've been closely involved with recently with the design of the bonding curve and the choice of the layer 2 solution for the microtransactions.
And then we have Gregor in the middle.
Hi everybody. I'm the only, let's say, non-dev here. My role today at this call is to listen in and see if there are any questions that are not related to the technical side. We'll take note of them and.
Okay, awesome. And then we go to Victor.
Victor, ask me.
By the way, do you hear this well enough? Because like this is on
No,
my...
no, that was that. Can you do that again?
So you should use...
Victor Troll.
1 second, we need to... Victor should use his microphone.
I'm Victor Troll, and the architect and designer of the Swarm, together with some others. Ask me anything.
Okay, we will definitely do that. And then we have Van Dot from a separate location.
Hi, my name is Ivan Vandot. I'm a system engineer in charge of managing the Swarm infrastructure. Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much, Van Dot. Sorry, yes, can I just say, Van Dot, we're so used to actually, like we always address you with your last name. I can also say Ivan, of course, if you prefer that.
Vandot is okay.
Okay, it just sounds so cool in Dutch. That's why I always do it. So guys, let's jump in, because we have limited time and an amazing lot of questions. I'm gonna start with one for Van Dot, as you are the system and infrastructure engineer. This is a question it kept repeating and repeating. What are the hardware requirements for a mainnet node? So how can people prepare, and what kind of hardware should they prepare for running a node on mainnet?
Well, yeah, we didn't do how to say proper testing, to have exact requirements. I know requirements for the nodes that we are running. Boot nodes are a little bit more system. They need a little bit more system performance, but yeah, regular users will not manage the boot nodes. So regular storage nodes are around 3 gigabytes of RAM and 1 or 2 CPUs, depending on how fast you want your node. But yeah, those are the nodes that we are manage are around that, and yeah, enough disk space.
So a couple of gigs and a couple of processors. It's it's not very specific. No, I'm just
I know
because people are like, what are the specifications? And then we say like very general things. But what should my hard disk size be? And is it important even?
It is important.
I can maybe answer this one if you want, Vandot.
Sorry,
I can maybe answer about the hard
please.
disk.
Please.
Yeah. So the hard disk requirements, like they're about, well, I put off my video, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Rinke, we lost video.
Yeah, so the hard disk, there are basically 3 systems in B that depend on the size of the hard disk. So the actual storage of your B node is 2 systems. So we have the reserve and we have the cache. And we just did, before this call, we did a couple of calculations. So the reserve has a capacity of 2 to the power 23 chunks, which is about 34 gigabytes. Then there's the other like storage size. This is modifiable to the user. So, but the default size of the cache is about 4 gigabytes. And apart from that, there's also the storage requirement, which is needed to run and operate a B node. And I would say that this is about 5 as well. So that amounts to like 34 plus 4 plus 5 plus a bit of like, you know, just a bit of extra. I would say 55 gigabytes recommended storage size.
Okay, so we have 3 gigabytes of RAM, 2 processors, and around 60 gigs of hard drive space.
And maybe one question for Vandot, like what kind of hard drives are you running? Like, is there a requirement how fast they need to be?
If you use SSDs, it's better. It will be more performant. But yeah, so in the production cluster, we are using SSDs.
Okay. Okay, so I'll just, can I throw in also like personal questions? It's like AMA, right? So I can ask questions too. So I've been running nodes on Raspberry Pis with like a fast SSD. Will this still work on Mainnet? Has something like really changed, or can I just keep running these nodes as they are?
I mean, for everything, as a node operator, you are incentivized to run your node in a proper way. So I didn't try running Raspberry Pis myself. So I would advise you personally, just run them and see how they behave. If they work fine, they work fine.
Awesome. I'll definitely report back, you know, on my findings there.
And then one more thing I just wanted to note about this. So of course, like we are the developer team, right? And the developers are developing the software. So we are not necessarily experts in running and operating them. So for that, we have a node operators channel in the Discord. So all these kind of questions, if you are a node operator, please join this node operators question and share the knowledge, like share kind of the knowledge that you're using for running a B nodes, like what works, what doesn't work. Like we have some answers, but I'm pretty sure that there are people in the community that know these kind of questions even better than we do. So
yes, and there is wisdom in numbers or something like that. So, you know, the more people that try it, the more we will figure out if it works good. Next question. How is the transition to Mainnet going to work with the current test nodes? Will there be an upgrade path, or will we have to start from scratch? And what about the data? What about the data? And what about Docker Compose deployments? That's a lot of questions. We'll start with one. Is there like a migration tool, or you know, how do we go? I've been running nodes on Testnet. Now we're going to Mainnet. So, you know, is there an upgrade path?
there will be a new network. The short answer. The testnet continues operating. We are rolling out, hopefully today, a new version, the 1.0 release candidate to the testnet. There will be an upgrade path for those nodes that have been operating 0.6 nodes to 1.0 nodes.
Okay.
But if you want to operate a node connected to the mainnet with real BCC tokens, you will be connecting to a new network.
Okay, but but the idea, let's stick with the testnet for a second. So what does this mean, that there is like a migration path from, I've been running like a testnet node on that was like 1.0 point something. Now I'm going to this new 1.0 release candidate. How does it work? Can I just overwrite it, or?
Yes, basically yes. So the easiest thing to imagine is if you imagine that the data that Swarm stores is not only the data itself in a particular format, which even if it happens to be the same, then then it cannot be upgraded because it's not only the data, it's the proofs of story postage stamps, like proof of payment, yeah, attached to it, and that is basically checked against a particular Ethereum chain that it's running on. So on the mainnet, it's very different from all the testnet ones. So and this is not interchangeable and not upgradable. And so the best I can recommend, if you have some data that you currently have on the testnet node or on testnet, then the best you can do is download and upload on the new one.
Okay, I think that's
attach the proper postage stamps that you need.
Yeah, I think that's quite clear. Maybe, I don't know, Rinke, who do you want to give this question to? But what about Docker Compose deployments? I never did Docker Compose deployments, so I have no idea really how that works. But people are asking, like, what about Docker Compose deployments in the context of upgrading to this 1.0 node?
I'm not sure that, it's nothing different than everything that Rinke explained for the regular nodes, you know. If you want to continue running on testnet, you will just update the Docker image inside the Docker Compose. But if you want to switch to mainnet, you will have to, as Rinke said, it's a completely new network. So you have to clean your storage and start from scratch on the mainnet.
Okay, awesome.
There is nothing in particular to Docker Compose to the other stuff. Sorry,
I
Rinke.
understand.
Yeah, thank you, Vandot. I just wanted to mention that specific questions about updating testnet 0.6 nodes to testnet 1.0 nodes. The communication that we're going to do this will go out today in a blog post, in an announcement, and all of this communication also includes instructions on how to update. It will be a very similar process to previous updates.
Yes, that should go out somewhere like late afternoon, very late afternoon, probably.
But once again, this is just
one of you has to mute,
the
guys.
code itself.
Yeah, thank you.
The B code itself can be upgraded. So if you run on the same, or you're on the same network, then the upgrade can work. But if that upgrading in the sense that the same node to run on a different network is not going to work. So if you want to run your node on the mainnet, then you need to restart from scratch.
Okay, perfect. Let's not spend more time on that because it's actually quite a simple thing if I hear you explain it. I would love to now hear from Danny. Danny, you can't imagine how many questions we got about the bonding curve. Like people are, I can't say this, like people are like really, really confused about it. And Gregor, maybe you can also chime in because it's not only like how does the bonding curve work, it's also in relation to our token supply. And people, especially after the token sale, people have been very confused about, you say you're going to have a market, or what is it, a total supply of this amount of tokens, but at the same time you start saying you're going to mint new tokens with a bonding curve. And so this is like totally weird for people to understand. So if you guys could maybe shed some light on that, I don't know, maybe we can first hear like what is a bonding curve and why do we use it, and then maybe Gregor, you can explain how it all works with like what people like to call tokenomics.
I would suggest yes, if Danny can explain how the bonding curve works, but today on this call, unfortunately, we cannot go into concretely discussing the bus token itself, we will address these questions. We can address them separately after the launch. But the information to also, let's say, connect the dots is out there. So with this, I would pass the microphone to Danny, if it's okay.
No, sure, of course, and I'm totally with you that the information is out there. Connecting the dots, maybe people should do that themselves. But anyway, Danny, let's dive into what is a bonding curve and why do we have it?
Right. So a bonding curve contract is essentially a marketplace where you can buy and sell BUS tokens. And what it does, it bridges the temporal gap between buyers and sellers. So basically, you can deposit BUS tokens and get out the collateral, or conversely, you can deposit collateral and get out BUS tokens, even if there's no other person on the other side of the trade yet. So basically, this is a tool to ensure that BUS tokens are always liquid. So if you need BUS tokens, the bonding curve is the place where you can always get them. And if you are running a commercial operation, running a swarm node, and you need to sell part of your earnings, then the bonding curve is there for you to do that anytime. You don't need to actually have another person or another entity that is willing to do the opposite trade. But if there are, and you're trading through the bonding curve, the mechanics of it is not really different from a regular market. So you won't notice any big differences. The user interface is just like any instance swaps. It has been pioneered by Shapeshift, I believe, this kind of UI. And it's used by all sorts of exchanges, including decentralized ones like Uniswap. So it's the same user experience.
Also, can we go? Sorry, if I can interrupt. Can we go into the extremes? I think this sheds some clarity if you do that. So what happens if everybody sends their BUS tokens to this bonding curve?
Well, in that case, they will get all the collateral out, and there's no more BUS token. So the BUS tokens, all the BUS tokens get redeemed for the collateral, and that's it.
And so, but if this would happen, you can just go back, put in DAI, and you will get new BUS tokens. That's correct,
Yes.
right? Okay, so this is hard for people to understand. Like you can go to a 0 token supply and then get back to like a lot of tokens.
Yes.
Okay, what happens? And now the opposite scenario. So what happens if like you know, like hundreds of thousands of people start buying BUS tokens on the bonding curve, and then, you know, is there an end to it, or what happens when that scenario happens?
There are two answers to this question. So the first answer is that the price will increase quite steeply. So people will probably run out of money before any other limitation kicks in. But actually there is a limitation built into the smart contract to avoid numerical overflows and other kind of hacks with numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But I seriously doubt that we will get anywhere close to it. So that, just to give you an order of magnitude, it's roughly, if the price of the BUS token will go to roughly $500 million DAI, then the limitations will kick in. But I don't think that it will ever happen.
Let's never say never, Danny. But anyway, so can you explain? I hope this is okay, Gregor. But can you also explain how? So I think people understand now how like a token supply can be like sort of elastic with the bonding curve. But what is the relation with price? How does I guess that's like the bond, right? Or like how does this price? How is the price calculated?
Well, so the bonding curve function is a monotonically increasing and quite steeply increasing function, meaning that if you buy from the bonding curve and nobody is selling to it, that the price is increasing very fast. And if you're selling and nobody is buying, then it's decreasing also quite fast. But if there are actually other people on the other side of the trade, you don't happen to be there at the same time. So if the trading is roughly balanced, then the price will be stable. And also the bonding curve kind of acts as a inertia, meaning that since it has a large amount of collateral logged in it, then in order to move the price, you actually need to do a substantial amount of trades. So what often happens to new tokens is that on the two-sided markets, they are not there's not a terribly lot of liquidity, and because of that, the price is fluctuating very wildly. And we hope that the bonding curve will kind of attenuate this situation, and the price will really reflect kind of the long-term balance in supply and demand.
So just personal question: has anyone ever done this before? Like, are there examples of this kind of?
Yes. So bonding curves have been pioneered by the Bancor Corporation, if I recall correctly, Bancor project. They're actually using a very similar bonding curve to the one that we have chosen. So we're not doing a lot of innovation there. We changed a few parameters because of various practical reasons, which I'm not ready to discuss right now. But yeah, so bonding curves are relatively new technology, but we're definitely not the first to try it.
Okay, maybe this will be my last question. Yes, sorry.
If I may add, yes, it's like the bonding curve, we believe, adds stability to the whole Swarm ecosystem. It also provides independent, decentralized liquidity, which also again strengthens Swarm as a project. And in a way, you know, it's we see a lot of projects in DeFi. So like curve.finance, well, it's a curve, you know, where they got the name from. So there is a lot of innovation in this space.
Yeah.
I would say, I would expect that we will see more and more projects in future also doing similar approaches.
Yeah, I totally agree. You can also already see it like in research and in like even some GitHub commits from other projects that most of them are experimenting at least with curves, and I am all for it. This is a very technical question, Danny, from me to you. Why do we have 16 decimals? Like every ERC20 compatible token has 18 decimals.
Yeah,
and are we just trying to be special? Or?
There's a purely technical reason, and it has to do with the bonding curve. So basically what we want to avoid is that in a situation where most of the bus tokens are sold back to the bonding curve, we want to avoid the situation when some tokens are actually free, when they cost zero. And in order to avoid that, in addition to the Bancor function, there's a little linear term. So basically, we need to add the same amount of atomic units to the price in Buzz and in DAI, and we want that to be insignificant, roughly 1%, and 1% is two decimal orders of magnitude. So it's a purely technical decision. I hope it will not upset anything.
No,
I mean, 10 to the power of 16 is still a very big number.
Yes, that's true. No, it won't upset people. I think it's even a good thing because you can recognize all the scam tokens because they have 18 decimals, and so this is, you know,
only now maybe the scam tokens learns that we have 16 decimals. So like if you see a BZZ token with 16 decimals, that doesn't mean that this one is valid, right?
But if you see one with 18, that's a scam for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Rinke, for the disclaimer. So I'll go back to my list of questions here. Thank you so much, Danny. That was like a very thorough explanation, I think. This is one, Rinke, probably for you. Has the over generous free time settlement issue been fixed? I have no idea what this means, but maybe some of you guys do.
Yeah, so I'll provide a bit of background. So this is about the ratio at which nodes give each other free bandwidth. That is the time refreshment ratio. It was set at a certain parameter, and then we increased.
Sorry, Rinke, to totally interrupt, but you have to explain this. What does this mean? What does this mean even? Like nodes give each other time? That sounds very romantic, but can you explain that?
Yeah, so this is the feature of time-based settlements, right? As you know, before, Swarm nodes all gave each other bandwidth in exchange for money. And we realized a couple of months ago, actually, that this kind of creates a critical dependency from the Swarm network to the blockchain. So if for whatever reason the blockchain wouldn't operate, or nodes maybe would not like trust the blockchain anymore, or for security reasons or whatever, then this whole Swarm network would fall apart, and we don't want that. And we figured out that we do want to keep these monetary settlements, but alongside that, we introduce a different kind of settlement layer, which we call time-based settlements. So the time-based settlements is basically nodes giving each other a certain kind of bandwidth capacity for free. So they don't need to pay for that. And what you see then is like the two most important reasons for the swap bandwidth incentives. It's basically spam protection, and to incentivize that nodes collaborate. And with time-based settlements, they are preserved. So the time-based settlements is there if nodes don't don't use a lot of bandwidth, but if you would like start download the movie or whatever, then you consume more than the time-based settlements and you use the monetary settlements. So in the V06, the time-based settlements, basically nodes gave each other too much free bandwidth. And this has been reduced now with the 1.0 release candidate. And yeah, we're going to run it out today and see how it behaves.
Okay, so the nodes were too generous.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So this is an interesting question, I think. What about the high gas prices on Ethereum? Is an off-chain or level 2 solution planned?
So let me answer that. So we have researched the alternatives, some layer 2 solutions, and basically we settled on a side chain called XDAI. XDAI is a EVM-based sidechain of Ethereum, meaning that it has the exact same smart contract mechanics as Ethereum itself, same transaction format, same kind of APIs, which means that the transition is relatively painless. It has been operating for a while, so it has a good track record. It is used by other projects, so there's already some community trust around it. It is cheaper and faster than Ethereum Mainnet, and it can carry the kind of microtransactions that Swarm requires, but it's not a long-term solution. So this is a stopgap measure because basically Ethereum scaling problems didn't catch up with Swarm's requirements yet, but we're really hopeful that there will be some standard scalability solution for Ethereum, maybe Ethereum 2, maybe some rollup, we don't know yet, but when it comes around, we can easily change that. So XDAI is a fully bridged sidechain, which means that bus tokens can move from the mainnet to the sidechain and back trustlessly and safely. And we're only committed to using the bus token, but where these bus tokens live is it can change depending on how technology develops. And maybe, for example, if Swarm's popularity explodes, maybe it will be the very reason why XDAI network will be clogged up. So it's not an ultimate scaling solution, but we think that for the time being, which means months and maybe even years from now, it's an adequate solution.
So maybe I want to add like one clarification. You say that XDAI people can move their tokens trustlessly. I don't think that's correct, because we still depend on the bridge operators to migrate the tokens. So there is a certain trust in the operators of the bridge.
Yes, but they are incentivized.
They are incentivized. Yeah. But it is trustless to a certain degree, but not as trustless as the Ethereum mainnet, right?
Exactly, but yes, but at least we as a team say we trust it. So in that way, you can trust it. Right? Yes. Okay. Okay, wow, what is this? What is the minimum expected storage performance for B? Is it a good idea to use NFS or distributed block storage to store chunks of multiple instances, or are NVMe SSDs the best overall option? Does anyone know, all these terms? Probably you guys should know this, right? No.
Definitely SSD is the best option. But the first one, I think you mentioned NFS.
Yeah, NFS or distributed block storage like Minio.
Yeah, we didn't test it with Minio. It works with EBS. That's on AWS, but yeah, Minio and NFS really not sure. Depending on the network speed, on the disk speed, again, yeah, with NFS servers. So yeah, but yeah, faster the better. But we didn't tested it. As Rinke said, yeah, it would be nice also community.
Yeah, just test it and
Yeah,
drop your
and
test results in the node operators channel.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Van Dat. It's fun to be able to trust on your knowledge because I had no idea what that all means. Are there limits to the storage space a single B can take up? The DB capacity option was removed in 0.6.0. Is there another way? Yeah, Rinke?
Okay, so
Okay. Yeah.
so the disk capacity was removed because it's no longer one parameter that is used, but there's a reserve and a cache, and the reserve is a system-wide constant. It's supposed to be the same reserve storage size for each and every B node. So in that sense, it's not configurable. That's actually let's say that's part of the requirement of running a node that you have that space. And as for the cache itself is configurable and it can be bigger. However, it's depending on the population of the network and the number of chunks in it, the number of the volume of data in it. It's going to be after a certain size. It's not going to be more profitable to operate a bigger cache, most likely. So there's practically there's no gain in having a lot of storage for one node, and I hope it answers the question. And just a little side note here. So there's in Swarm there's such a thing as pinning, that certain content that you can pin to your local node and have it as part of your storage that is not removed by the garbage collection processes. But this is important to know that this pinned content is calculated on top of the other requirements. So if you want to pin content like lots of movies, you have to take care that the space for those pinned content is available. Unless the pin content is otherwise protected, in which case it's part of the reserve anyway. So once again, if you have postage stamp, if you have content which you want to pin with expired postage stamps, you need to take care that the storage space that it takes up is extra and provided over on top of the cache and the reserve size. I hope it's clear.
That totally makes sense to me, but I did read the Book of Swarm.
Maybe I also want to add like a small clarification here, if I may. So the reserve is for those chunks that you're supposed to store based on like your proximity to the chunk. So that's what we call the natural location in the white paper. So all the chunks that you are like storing based because they're so close to you, they go to the reserve. And apart from that, node operators also what we call cache chunks whenever I am forwarding a chunk to its destination. And this caching is actually incentivized because if I'm caching a chunk and I get requested it means that I don't need to pay to get it to my downstream peer, but I can immediately set it and have pure profit. And this is the cache, right? So that's why the cache is modifiable. Like it doesn't really matter if you cache or not. Like the network will still function if no node caches. So that's why it doesn't matter. But the reserve capacity really should stay the same because this is this is what you're supposed to store based on your location.
Okay, let's go on. What is a non-mineable overlay and how exactly is it used? Again, I have no idea what they mean by that.
Yeah, so I think I can answer that. Whomever asked this question is keeping a very close eye to our PR. So this PR is out there. I think maybe it's merged right now. Maybe it will be merged in the upcoming hour. But basically, Swarm has a requirement, and we are always reasoning about Swarm that node operators kind of like randomly choose their overlay address, right? And then we know that all addresses are.
One second, sorry. An overlay address is the address, like the IP address of the node?
No, it's the address that basically defines what chunks you'll be storing.
Okay.
So,
it's similar to the Ethereum address. It's that kind of animal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we're always assuming that the overlay addresses are evenly distributed around the network. However, the overlay address before was purely based on the Ethereum address of the user. So by choosing, by kind of like what we call mining, trying out many private keys, I could try out like so many times until I have a particular overlay address that would land into a certain neighborhood. Now, this opens all kind of bad scenarios. Maybe the very first one, just that the overlay addresses are not evenly distributed. So one space of the network has more capacity than another space of the network. But one could also think about more kind of adversarial scenarios where I would just kind of mine thousands of addresses in one neighborhood and thereby kind of completely isolating that neighborhood from the network or letting. So this is where the non-mineable overlay addresses comes in. So basically we added one additional ingredient, what defines what your overlay address is going to be. And this is the block hash at which your node registered. So basically now, in order to choose a neighborhood, you need to do a transaction on the DAI test chain. So this will cost real money. So node operators can still choose kind of what.
Not the DAI test chain, right?
They need to pay for that.
Yeah. So you say like you have to do a transaction on the DAI test chain. What do you mean by that?
Side chain.
On the DAI side chain.
Okay. I'm just correcting you because you know these details matter. Okay, this is to me it's at least clear. I hope also to the author of that question.
Node operators, nothing changes. Like they don't. Maybe the only thing they notice is that their overlay address is different. But apart from that, this is really something internal.
Under the hood. The next question: can the swap initial deposit be adjusted, and if so, what is the allowed range? This was, of course, a question. You have to explain this because, especially, I think from China, we get a lot of questions about staking, mining, all that kind of questions where we actually see like this is just not true. So if we tell people like you need to put in some buzz, right, in order to operate your node, is this true? Is this not true? Can you talk about that, because this is something that was very confusing.
No, the answer is a resounding no.
Oh, some of you have to mute.
Yeah.
So the answer is a resounding.
Guys, please. Oh God.
Okay, try again.
So the answer is a resounding no. You don't need to stake Buzz in order to operate a node. You can start with 0 and you can earn your way into the network by providing the service.
I'm gonna double check this. Is this is so I'm gonna restate this, right? I can start a B node. I don't have to put in any buzz. I don't have to buy buzz. I can just run it and earn buzz with it.
A small side note.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
start with 0. In theory, you can earn your money to get in, and actually all the smart contracts are completely prepared that instead of node operators paying you, node operators can pay you by deploying a checkbook for you. However, this functionality needs a bit more wiring in, and we're planning like a non-backwards compatible update that does this at a later point. But the requirement to join the swarm with 0 BZZ is perfectly possible. And I know, Michelle, we have been having a discussion about this like 2 months ago, but this now is very easy, especially because of the time-based settlements that we spoke about before. So this is no problem anymore. And yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ask this once again, just to have it clear. So I can start a B node and start earning BZZ without putting in any BZZ. Now, today, well, on June 21st.
About the earning BZZ, I'm not too sure, because it might be, I don't know if node operators are paying always to a checkbook or if they can also pay to an Ethereum address. So like, anyways, if this is not enabled right now, it will be like super easy to enable at a later point. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, Gregor, thank you.
There was one. I would also ask here a question, because a lot of times I get another question. Does a node operator need to deposit Ether or XDAI in order to run the node?
The node operator, I mean, like what I said, right? You can be a node operator without deploying a checkbook. So in that sense, no XDAI is needed as well. However, XDAI is an EVM chain, and as an EVM chain, you will need gas. The gas costs on XDAI are significantly lower than the gas costs on the Ethereum main chain, and I even believe that the XDAI team is operating a faucet for getting XDAI for your transaction costs.
So, if I understand it correctly, it's more practical and easier if there's like a little bit of XDAI loaded on the account.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to deploy a checkbook, if you want to cash out your checks, like all these operations, if you want to do an operation on the blockchain with your checkbooks, with your cashes, with your buying a postage stamp, you will need XDAI alongside BZZ, like a small amount to pay for the gas fees.
Thank you. This is. I hope this sheds clarity, because there were so many, confused people asking about staking, and there are a lot of stories going around.
And maybe I can promise an answer. Maybe I can promise an answer for the question whether node operators will be able to earn BZZ without even having BZZ. I can promise this answer. Like I need to check this.
Okay, no problem. I'll ask you again Monday at the live event. So yes, please, Gregor, go ahead.
Maybe it's also good to highlight in the Book of Swarm. There are insurers also mentioned, and for that there will be needed staking, right? And this maybe is, for those who read the Book of Swarm, can also be the source of confusion. Maybe Victor, you can shed more light on this.
Okay, so indeed, there's various layers of potential incentivization for persistence and persisting files. So the current version of Swarm is only going to implement indirect positive rewards and incentivization. This means that the whole system has an emergent incentive to preserve the files, because doing so, you comply. If you comply with the protocol, then you're basically serving your interest as a bus token holder, and the incentive works positively like that. But the staking solution is usually under the heading of negative incentives, which means that you have a mechanism that disincentivizes you to lose the content, prevents you from losing the content by the threat of some sort of confiscation or threat of having your stake forfeited, and this layer of insurance is not part of the current release, but of course part of the release plan and then roadmap later. And there's going to be various solutions for this. In the middle of these two solutions, there's a middle solution, which is the direct positive rewards, which is a system which directly redistributes some of the postage stamp revenue. So the revenue that is generated by people paying in a kind of rent-like cost for storing their files. And in this interim solution, in this solution, you will get this revenue redistributed among the storers that are entitled to it based on their storage, based on their storage activity. So these are going to be the upgrades on our roadmap, and so once again, to wrap up, there's no staking currently needed on the part of the nodes. Even the amount that you need to have is only to cover the cost of having one transaction attached to the address that is the basis for your swarm ID, so for your overlay. This was the non-miner overlay that Rinke mentioned.
Okay.
So, and that's basically it.
Thank you for the wrap up, Victor. This is so guys, we're gonna now have like a fun round. So imagine that you're in a TV show now. Prometheus metrics that B exposes are a bit obscure, according to one author. So this question asker is basically asking us to explain in layman terms some terms that we use in the Prometheus interface, or in, what is it, like the logs or the debug interface. So you can only answer if you can do it in one sentence. That's the rule of the game. Okay, so I'm gonna just say a term and then one of you has to answer it, but in one sentence. And with one sentence, I mean like 15 seconds, not like a sentence that takes on and on and on and on. Okay, get ready for this. Accounting.
I just want to say that the Prometheus metrics so far has been like, you know, the users, the intended users of those are the developers. However, of course, they can also be used by node operators. But the Prometheus metrics haven't been kind of sanitized to be useful for node operators. So maybe.
So does this mean you don't want to answer the question, or you don't want
I do.
Oh, guys, please.
Just only my laptop. I think it's better.
So I'll just, but you have to do it in one sentence. Accounting.
Accounting is the peer-to-peer tracking of bandwidth use between peers.
Yes, that's a great sentence. Batch store.
Batch store is the place where information about postage batches are synchronized with the blockchain.
Okay, local store.
This is the store for chunks and more related information.
Pool storage.
Pool storage.
Yes.
Where's,
Read it as pulled pork, but it's pooled storage.
we don't use such
Pool storage.
terminology.
Yeah. So this pool storage is the component in the code that drives the synchronization of chunks within the neighborhood.
Next one, pool sync.
That's the synchronization of chunks in the neighborhood.
Pusher.
That's the component that is running in the background to make sure that chunks that you uploaded on your local node reach the network and ultimately are pushed to their natural location in the network.
Push sync.
That's the mechanism.
Upload.
That's the mechanism. Yeah.
It just upload.
Just upload. Push sync is just upload. Why didn't we call it just upload then? Anyway, that was not a question. Don't go into it. Retrieval.
Download.
Swap.
Swap is the component that does the peer-to-peer accounting to incentivize for the bandwidth accounting.
Okay, that was it. Thank you so much for this fast round. I'm so sorry that the flux capacitor is not in B anymore. I was looking for that because that was my favorite term ever in Swarm, but it's gone. So I don't know if I can do like a request, but I think I'm gonna make an issue on GitHub, like asking like, can we just have this back because it's so funky. Anyway, how much time do we have left? Casper, do we have to be like very strict with time, or do we have more time? No, maybe Gasper already ran away. No. Anyway, let's go to the next question. Okay, B seems to shred through NAT boxes because of its high connection count. Yeah, I had this. Is this likely to change? So I'm running like B nodes on DAP nodes, right? And when I just connect them in my home network, and I also then watch a movie, for instance, or I do or anything. My kids start, I don't know, playing Minecraft, then the whole network just crashes. Like all the routers in the house just say like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna reboot." Like, so, it, why is this, and will it be fixed? Because of its high connection count. Is there like a limit on the connection count? Basically, my ISP is saying like, what you're doing is not okay. You're a hacker or something, and then they shut down my Rinke, maybe?
So, yeah, I think I can answer it. B requires a certain number of connection per bin, and a bin is like a term specific for Kademlia. I think right now it is 8 connections per bin, and every time the network doubles, we have another bin. So I think right now we have 15 depths, so that means that there are 2 to the power 15 nodes in the network. Is it correctly, Victor?
A few tens of thousands.
Yeah, and every time the network doubles, your node would basically have 8 more connections to maintain. Now there are certain, like a couple of edge conditions that nodes would connect to more than 8 peers per bin. And I would expect this to be sanitized in the future, that the node is just maintaining those in a better way. If you're really having issues with that, you can manually manage and maintain all your connections. So there are debug API endpoints where you can just say disconnect to nodes. So to all the node operators that have issues with that and are serious about maintaining and operating their nodes, if they see more than 8 nodes in a particular bin, you can just kick out any nodes above 8.
Okay, so the next question, I know it's meant as it's meant as a technical question, but I want to ask this to Gregor.
I would maybe just add to the previous one, from what I discussed with some other people, does maybe your question relate to the initial boot up of the B node when it's more actively syncing with the network?
Maybe that's the case, yeah.
So basically, then there would just need to be some throttling on the initial boot, on the initial
Yeah.
load.
Yeah, because when it's like fully synced, it all goes down. So yeah. Anyway, Gregor, good that you're talking, because I wanted to ask this question to you specifically, because of your cypherpunk background. So someone is asking, can I run a mainnet B node on, and then it's just like insert like AWS or like clouds, what are they called? Like all these cloud providers, right? And so I know technically we already explained you can run a mainnet node on AWS, but I want you to explain why this is not. I mean, if you really believe in what Swarm is trying to achieve, why this is maybe not the best idea. I mean, from an ideological standpoint.
Yes, of course. It's, I guess it starts just with this simple phrase we all know, my crypto, my keys, and it also applies the same logic, the same cypherpunk logic, if you want to say, it. So it's like basically the user having the control, having the agency. So by hosting B nodes on cloud providers, we kind of put this control into third parties' hands. So while it might just work perfectly, it does not really add to the the whole idea of decentralization in this. We've seen, especially already this year, like really amazing, like really surprising moves. How Amazon was overnight cutting off some app providers and developers and things like that. So, of course, we would, as a Swarm Foundation, support and endorse that people run vNodes on their own hardware. This is also, I think, Testnet is actually written extensive on this topic because Testnet is tackling exactly this issue.
Yes, I always keep sending people to, because people are often looking at AWS, for instance, for like convenience. And I try to then show them that with Testnet, it's also very convenient, and you stay within like the goal and the vision of what Swarm is trying to achieve.
Maybe I would also ask if others want to elaborate and
Sure, yeah, please do. I think this is an important. It's not a very technical topic, but I think in a way our ideology and the philosophy behind Swarm is also very technical. Not for developers, but like for people into philosophy and ideology. It's quite it's quite a deep dive also.
I would add that practically, yes. So if you take this idea of decentralization to the extreme, then Amazon might not be really the most palatable solution. The whole point of Swarm is that it does add an extra layer of security and decentralization, even in the face of having your node run on Amazon, because at least it obfuscates all the content specific and application specific logic. So if a Swarm node as a basic infrastructure ingredient is allowed to run in general on Amazon, then on top of that there's no proper potential mechanism to censor or ban or drop particular applications. And
that's where we want to get. So again, this is not a 1.0 status. This is kind of a direction of development.
Yeah, I think that's very very good that you say that Daniel, to make that distinction. I specifically wanted to talk not about what we have today, but what the vision is and where we want to go, and why then maybe AWS is not the best idea. I hope I'm not opening a can of worms here.
Yeah, but in this very concrete sense, it's true. Like if Amazon can shut down the particular servers of an application or a development team, but if they want to shut down a particular application or development team of an app on Swarm, then all they can do is to shut down all the Swarm nodes that run on or not all of them, but some of them. So
yeah, quite clear. I think I hope this was clear for our viewers. I always send people that want to understand this more. I always tell them, like, at least read the introduction in the book of Swarm, because it explains so well what the history is of what we are trying to achieve and why we are doing it. And I think that's a very important aspect of Swarm that people need to understand if they invest time and energy and bus tokens in running nodes. I'll take this as the last question, if that's okay with you guys. It seems that downloads don't work correctly, even though the upload was marked as completed. What gives? And isn't this a critical issue for Mainnet? Rinke.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
They're asking, like, does it work?
Yeah, I mean, this is of course a very critical issue, and it ties into like what we've been working on basically for the last year. So the Swarm is a rather complex piece of software that has been operating on hardware that we don't know, and really like operating all across the globe. Having all the bits and pieces fall into place is rather complex, and we have been observing indeed as well that if you upload something to the network, then somehow you cannot get it back. I'm rather confident about the changes that we are going to release today, and really curious to see how the network will operate and perform. My own observations have been that if I upload a small size, I can download it again. But if I upload a bigger size, file, usually I couldn't download it. And this is because of, just statistics, right? So if I upload 1,000 chunks, if one of those chunks is missing, the file will be corrupt. So really, if you upload bigger sizes files, all the chunks really need to become in their place. And for this reason, we advise a limit on the upload size. So we advise to use Swarm in the beginning with smaller size files, just because the probability of being able to retrieve all those chunks into those files is higher. And we work towards increasing these limits over the time.
Okay, that's a very clear and comprehensive answer. It reminds me of when I started to do the internet thing. Like at first, it was even slow to download an image, and you had to wait before it was downloaded. To me, a lot of what we are doing reminds me of early days of the internet, etc. I see we are losing Victor. Victor, thank you so much for this AMA. Okay, and guys, I want every one of you. So Van Dot, there were not many questions about infrastructure. I'd see this as a good sign. But thank you so much that you wanted to be here today to answer these questions and just to show your face. I think it's important for our users and for node operators, for investors, that they have the opportunity to also meet the team and to see that that you guys are what you're talking about, basically. So I want to thank you all, Rinke, Gregor, Dani, as always. I'm gonna see you guys really, really soon in Budapest. I'm looking forward to that. With that, I would like to round up the AMA. Please, everyone viewing, if your question was not answered, just go to our Discord channel, go to Node Operators to be support. We have dedicated channels where people will, in a timely fashion, answer your questions. So for now, I say goodbye from Antwerp, and I'll see you soon in Budapest. Bye-bye.